we ask the question, what else is the dark web used for? Well, we've been telling you about all these the dangerous aspect of the dark web. It can be used for a few things, because often some countries, there's quite a few countries out there that have strict internet censorship. One could then tunnel through using those technologies, using the dark web to gain access to information, and you can also exchange information about, with different countries and different groups and different entities that often exchange information. There's a very nice place there, because getting access to the dark web is a different method, and they can't always block that because you're using VPNs and encrypted tunnels. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen with your traditional web browsers. Even though you're using TLS and other SSL and other methods of hiding your browsing habits, sometimes they can block legitimate sites where they end up going to the dark web. It doesn't tend to happen though, or it doesn't happen that way. So that's a good thing. And if you are in a position where you are able to expose human abuse and abuses of power through different methods, through different groups, wherever you may be, there's this portal that allows for whistleblowers to then obviously make the world aware, and then bring about change or positive change. And the WikiLeaks is an example of that. There's also confidential communication with government officials, which is good, which we want, because sometimes the information is meant to be kept confidential, and it should stay that way. And they can use these methodologies and the technology that they have available, to communicate with each other. Then you can also purchase restricted or extremely rare goods. That is a possibility as well, because they do sell and often tend to mirror certain products on the dark web that is available on the clear web, as it were. So that is a place, and sometimes the prices are better as well, because they become more competitive on the dark web. It does happen, so that's one of the methods that one can use. And you can buy legal goods anonymously as well, just by using Tor, because as I mentioned, they're reflecting often what is available on the clear web, just with sometimes a darker take of things. So that's an option. Then we can simply browse the internet anonymously as well. So there is content that is also legitimate and also pretty available. That's in the dark web. You can use that as well. So one of the biggest questions is now, with all this fear mongering, is that how does one defend or put up a wall to protect yourself from these kind of applications and potential nefarious individuals out there? Well, one can complete regular cyber risk assessments. That allows you a viewpoint or an entry into your business and into your security posture, to then allow you to get some clarity on how your company and how you are with regards to securing your environment. So it gives you clarity. It's a nice, clear report. You get an understanding, and then you can become objective, and you can also become comparative about how your system is. And also the most important thing, and often I stress this very often, is that a good regular update and patch management system is vitally important. Because often people are sometimes lazy, and unfortunately because of that, criminals are never lazy and they never sleep. So we need to be aware of that, and make sure that you have a good patching system in place, and it's automated. That's even better. Then obviously we need some high quality malware application on all our devices, your mobile, your IoT devices, and your work environment. You need to have something effective that's updated automatically. And sometimes even you make sure that it has a bundled solution. There's a good malware, anti-malware application that has all the different spyware, and even has some kind of an application that can identify potentially ransomware as well, which is vitally important, because often we don't want to become compromised in that, because that's sometimes a real challenge to deal with. If it has that facility or that service, make sure you look at that one first. And we need to develop also a comprehensive cyber security awareness program, because often, as mentioned, 70% of the compromises happen by people clicking on things they shouldn't, or going to websites that maybe shouldn't have gone to. As long as you're made aware that these things are out there, as long as you have good anti-malware application, as long as you consciously apply that mask to your thinking when you go out there and you're dealing with things on a day-to-day basis, that you have something in place. And the more that is reinforced, the more it's subconscious, the easier it is to protect yourself. And then making sure you also have an effective filtering or email filtering system, that can filter filter the links and also the attachments, which is vitally important. So make sure that you have an effective system in place to do that. This is an example of our defense in practice, or defense in depth, as they term it in the cybersecurity industry that we're in. The more defense you have in place, the better it is. Such as, if I have a house and I'm living, that house is on the block, and a criminal walks around at night, and I have street lights on my street, and I have motion activated lights, and I have a fence around my property, and I have alarm system, and I have burglar bars, and I have a trellis door system. And the more security I add to my system, the less likely I'm going to become a victim. And that's how it works exactly in the same industry. And yeah, you'd have a sort of an example of the different types of technology that we normally in our industry would then apply to protect that user. You protect the user from the endpoint, from the outside, from the perimeter with a firewall, for example. Then you add IPS, which means intrusion protection systems, and IDS being intrusion detection systems. It identifies it, then stops it. Then you have anti-malware and firewalls and so forth. So that's just an example there, an example of how one would protect your system.
Yeah, so going on to this slide, we have, if you've made it this far in the presentation with us and understood everything we've spoken about so far, I would strongly urge you to make a note of this email address on your screen in front of you. It's a free tool that we offer, dmarc@emailsecurity.im. All you have to do is send an email directed to this email address, and it's completely free to use. You'll get a response back immediately telling you whether your email has outgoing and inbound encryption, and tests against 4 different things that you can see on the screen here: DMARC, SPF, DKIM, and TLS. So if you haven't already, please make a note of this email address. Please make use of it. It is free, and we strongly recommend you to do so. Moving on to this last slide, and to sort of round off this presentation, these are 3 sites that we would strongly recommend you to go and check. The second one here in the middle, called haveibeenpwned.com, is a great tool to use. If you just put your email address in there and click the search button, it will check it against all of the different data breaches that have happened in the past and tell you whether any of your information has been compromised, whether you might have signed up to a website using that account or that email address. It usually is very reliable on coming back and telling you if your email address has been involved in any of those data leaks. And some you might be surprised about. You might not have heard about it in the mainstream media with everything else that's going on in the world. So it's definitely worth checking all of those sites just to see if you've been involved in any data leaks you're unaware of.